Tracy asked me if I was ready for her to turn the camera on. Yes. So, raise your hand if by any chance you tuned in last Sunday, snow day, to Ray and Trey's Facebook Live. Okay, so, cool. Okay, so a whole bunch of y'all did. Okay, so thanks for coming to our house. We appreciated it. So, some of the things that I mentioned last week, I'm going to reiterate just a smidge for those who weren't present. Is that good? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, today we are talking about that third chapter in, what book is this? Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that, because I did that one time and somebody said, "Is that your Bible?" And I felt like doing Joel Osteen. I'm not going to do that right now. So, third chapter starts, what it does. Starts on page 40. Anybody know what page it ends? Somebody said it. 52. Well, for me, it's 50, but whoa. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, you got all of about 10 pages. 10 pages. That's like, what, the length of time to drink a cup of coffee. 10 pages to read what it does. Now, first of all, let's reiterate. What is it? God. Some folks said other things like, it is love, it is consciousness, it is existence, it is life. Okay. So what God does, what life does, what love does, what existence does, right? If I were to ask you one-on-one, don't answer out loud, but if I were to ask you, what does it do? Just think for yourself, do you have an answer? Keeping in mind that it's easy for us to theorize what God does. Like we'll say things like, well, God makes the planets and the orbit, and God makes the grass grow, and God this and God that. And like, yes, you are absolutely correct. But what does that have to do with you? Because that's when it gets personal. Because see, it's real easy to think about the separate idea of. Because in all honesty, like we already know, we could acknowledge, God is responsible, that power that is responsible for making the moon orbit the earth, correct? When was the last time you really sat down and thought about how the moon orbiting the earth is affecting your life on Monday morning? When was the last time you sat down over a cup of tea and thought about how the grass growing on the face of this planet is improving the quality of your life where you are on Wednesday afternoon? When was the last time that aspect of God in expression was what was driving your motivation and your consciousness to living your life to your highest and best? I would venture to say the only time we really think about the moon and the planets and how they're affecting our lives are when we hear about things like Mercury retrograde and the eclipse that's coming and how the planetary things affect and how, yeah, that stuff. But on a regular, everyday, living, moving, and having your beingness, where do we what it does? Where do we anchor what it does in our regular everyday lives? So one of the things that Holmes says in Love and Law, you are using a power which is, and you have a right to use it, and it will reach right up to your ability to use it. It will reach up to your ability to use it. Keep that in mind. It is limited by our mental concept. Absolutely. While it is the power that makes the planet and everything on it, it makes you, it makes me, when it comes to working in our lives individually, over our conditions and over our bodies, it can only flow in through our consciousness. No other way. And what we want to do is to provide that great big consciousness within. So, where does that leave us? What it does only matters to the degree that we are doing it. There's a cool little magazine. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Anybody not familiar with this magazine? Science of Mind magazine. So there's a cool article. It's a part one of an article that if you have not read it yet, I strongly encourage you to, because it's going to tie into something I'm going to mention during week 4 of how do we use this thing called spirit. But one of the things, it's called Hardcore Metaphysics. And one of the things the author references is, to what degree are we manifesting? To what degree are we demonstrating? Because that's what it does. It demonstrates. It demonstrates love. It demonstrates life. It demonstrates justice and equanimity and equality and beauty. It demonstrates, it lives, it expresses. And so to what degree are we allowing that to move through us and in us? Wayne Dyer has been known to say, don't let yourself die with your something still in you, with your music still in you. Don't die with your music still in you. What does that mean? Don't die with your music still in you. How many of us know someone who has a great talent, whether it's art or music or vocal or poetry, something? They have a great talent. They're an amazing cook. They're something. They're a great teacher. Something that they are so gifted to do, but they won't do it. They won't cook for folks. They play small. In the Bible, it was referenced as placing your light under a bushel or burying your talents. How many folks do we know who suppress their gifts? For whatever reason. They will not live out loud. For whatever reason. But there is something going on with them where they have a gift, they have a talent, they have something wanting to express through them. And they won't let it. Now, what did that say? It is limited by our mental concept. I would venture to say that if, for the sake of conversation, if we could do an experiment and say I knew hypnosis, which I don't, but suppose I did, but I don't. If I were to say, David, you no longer remember who you are not able to play music. Woo! And then I brought the Rav over to him and I said, play something. What is this, a miniature UFO? What is this? I don't know what this is. Now, mind you, he knows what it is. He played it. I don't know if he plays it every day, but he's a master of it. But if for some reason that idea was no longer there, then he would not remember, he would not know, he would not have access to that power that plays in, through, and as him. So where in our lives are we closing at the top? Right? So next. So last week, for those who tuned in to Ray and Trey's house, one of the things I mentioned was the laws of buoyancy and the laws of aerodynamics. Did this exist long before the first actual boat was carved and long before the first actual plane flew? Did the potential exist? Yes. So why weren't people flying in 200 BC? Why didn't Jesus say, so disciples, I'm getting ready to go down to Bethlehem. I got to catch Southwest. Bless you. I got to catch Southwest to get down there. So, and I don't like the lines, so I'm going to make the lines disappear, because that's what I do. So I want you all to take that plane and meet me in Chicago when I go. Why didn't Jesus fly? Why didn't they have cruise liners for the disciples to say, yes, this summer we're going to do a cruise with Jesus. So come on down, buy a ticket and get on. Like, why didn't they have princess cruises then? Said not princess, but it would be Jesus cruises. Why didn't they have that? The potential was there. Electricity existed long before Benjamin Franklin. It even says, electricity was on people's minds in 1740, but not in the ways we think about it today. People use electricity for magic tricks by creating sparks and shocks. It existed. They were playing with it in 1740. Like, ooh, stop, that's magic. Not realizing, but wait a minute, we can actually light homes. We can make cars that run on electricity. We can do things. No, it's just for magic and tricks, it's all. Why? Because the consciousness of the masses at that time were not open to the potential possibilities of what all it could be and do. That's why I say, we want there to be no such thing as war. The potential for it exists right now. There is nothing that needs to be at some future. The potential exists right now. When we open our consciousness to that which is the laws of buoyancy, the laws of aerodynamics, the laws of peace on earth, the laws of health and well-being, the laws of divine right action, when we embody these laws, when we embody this way of walking and talking, then don't we bring this stuff from potential into form? In the same way that spirit brings from here, seed into soil becomes plant. Open at the top. What is the divine idea that you have? What is the divine idea that has you? And what are we allowing ourselves to move into being through that divine idea? So one of the things I mentioned last week as well was this idea of the Trinity. You know, we talk about not Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. We talk about thought, word, and deed. Right? And I said one day, but wait a minute. What if it's not a two-dimensional triangle, but it's actually a three-dimensional pyramid, and there's actually another point? Thought, word, deed, and feeling. And what if we talk about as above, so below? So what if there are two of them? Because the same laws that spirit operates in, through, and as are the same laws spirit operates in, through, and as with us, as us, through us. So there is no difference. So the same thought, word, and deed and feeling in spirit operates in humankind, in this world of effects. So, what are you thinking on any given day? Are you thinking on these things that say how good, how beautiful, how talented, and how well you are? Even when you do not feel it, are you able to acknowledge what you are versus what you feel? Because see, there's a difference. When we say, use my mother as an example. Someone in the family will say, so you know Aunt Lois has Alzheimer's. She has dementia. I don't say that. I say she's experiencing it. Because the moment we say someone has something, there's ownership. Do you have a cello?
Cello has me, baby.
Oh, so I owe you a hug for that. It's ownership. And that's even deeper ownership. We have a house. We have a car. We have a significant other. There's some form of connective we have. Because the moment the significant other leaves, the moment the car is gone, we've lost it. but that which we are can't be lost. So do we want to talk about illness, disease, political strife, war, etc. as something that we have or something that we experience? Because an experience can be changed far quicker than an owning of it. So the moment we change the way we think about it, clearly it changes the way we speak about it. And we know that we're not going to do anything that's not based in some level, based in what we feel, which is connected to what we think and what we speak. So what we do, how we show up in the world, is a direct reflection of what we believe. Those who believe that they are healthy and confident, even in the midst of, have you ever seen videos? There are viral videos of children and whatnot sitting in hospital beds who have terminal diagnoses. And the children are as happy as you could ever be. But you only have 6 months left. I want to go play. In the moment, adults worry about. We focus on the then, not the now. Or the when, not the now. Well, the reason I'm not a very good or not a confident person is because I was abused but are you abused right now? Or are your thoughts rehashing and resurrecting? And it's like the moment we start to forget that I was an abused child, hold on, clear? Now remind me. Thank you. That's why I don't like me. Got to keep it pumping, got to keep it pumping, got to keep it going. How often do we remind ourselves how little money we have, not how grateful we are for the amount that we have? But it's easy to focus on the have not, the cannot, the will not, the do not. It's easy to focus on a road diverged in the woods. And I chose the one least traveled, and it has made all the difference. All the difference. The road most traveled is the road of mass consciousness, mass mind. Mass mind says you're sick. Mass mind says you're broke, you're poor. Mass mind says this and that and that. Do we focus on precedent? Is that what it does? Or are we choosing to live, move, and have our beingness at a completely different level of consciousness? Yes. What does this, and that, what do they have in common? They're containers for, right? So if I were to ask you, is this the amount of consciousness that you have to hold your good? Is it just a thimble's worth? Or is it a cup amount? I can hold just a cup amount of goodness about how good and how glorious and how magnificent and how beautiful and how talented I am. Just a cup, no more than a cup. Or is it a tub's worth? Somebody got who's doing that? Thank you. See, love you. Or is it a tub's worth? I saw the thing and the cat in me wanted to jump. Or is it a tub's worth? Like how much is your conscience? Or is it an Olympic-sized pool worth? Or is it even beyond that, because it is the entire expanse of every ocean, river, stream, lake, puddle that exists, because my consciousness is open that any way that H2O is showing up, that's where my consciousness is. Every snowflake, my consciousness. Every raindrop, my consciousness. All of it. Where are we? Because see, until we actually grasp this and make it a practice, it stays theoretical. Last week I mentioned the cookbook, the idea of a cookbook. Until you Get your ingredients together until you put the apron on, which I don't use. Tracy gets upset with me because there's flour and stuff all over my clothes, but whatever. Whatever, Tracy. Until you are willing to get messy in the kitchen, there is no meal. Because right now, what we do with this teaching, what we do with our consciousness, is we go outside and look for takeout new thought. We want someone else to prepare it for us. We want someone else to cook it for us. We want someone else to package it for us and deliver it to us. Uber Eats, thank you. Instant new thought. This isn't what I ordered, but I'll eat it. Is that how we expect to live, move, and have our beingness in a world that works for all? Or do we get grounded and say, that's enough of that? No, this is not easy. It's simple. It is very simple. But it is not easy on any given day. It is this easy for me to spiral into. Right now, not literally at this moment, but right now, Ray is looking for a therapist to help Ray deal with the human stuff, that all the stuff related to my mom and my family and stuff. It's bringing up old PTSD related stuff. While I am doing my spiritual stuff, I know that there is also this part of me that this will benefit from. So I am not going to ignore any aspect of my health, well-being, and healing, because I know all of it has to come together. I'm not going to put a plate in front of me and just put mashed potatoes on and think that's a meal. That's not enough. I need some vegetable. I like eating the rainbow, so I put as many different colors of the chakras and the rainbow on the plate as possible. I don't want just mashed potatoes. No amount of food coloring in my mashed potatoes is sufficient. So are we willing, though, to do the work necessary? I don't want to go see a therapist. I really don't. Because the process of trying to find one is like, I feel like Sisyphus. I feel like roll the boulder up the hill and watch it roll back down. Oh my goodness, roll it back up and watch it roll back down. So I don't want to do it, but I know that on some level it is what I am being invited to do. I don't want to watch my mother go through this experience of Alzheimer's, approaching the moment of her eventual transition from her body, when I know that I and my family will completely there will be no connection. There is no reason for me to now go to Pittsburgh for family. I don't want to experience this, but I know that it is part of what I am being called into right now. And as uncomfortable as it is, as unpleasant as it is, I know that if I didn't have the ability to do it, it would not come before me. If I wasn't the one who had the ability to be the light and be the love and be the joy in the midst of this situation, I would not even have the invitation. Why does my mother remember me? She doesn't remember her other children. She remembers me. She remembers my name. For the most part, she still remembers when I was born. She doesn't remember when she was born. She remembers me. Why? Part of me is determined that I think the reason is because when I show up and she goes through whatever she's going through, I'm able to bring a smile back to her. When she gets mad, I'm able to grab her and bring her back down to grounded, Mom, grounded, grounded. Is that really what, Mom? Come on. I'm the one who's able to sit down with her in the kitchen and get her to eat. Nobody else can get her to eat. But I sit down with her and I eat with her. Are we willing to do that work in our own lives? Are we willing to do what this teaching calls for? Which means roll up the sleeves. Do the work. Find the places in our own lives that are not functioning and fix them. Meditation, prayer, time out in nature, qigong, I don't care what it is. Listening to music, playing music, I don't care what it is. Singing in the shower, I don't care what it is. Because ultimately, Ernest Holmes says, God in me, as me, is me. Then what could you possibly do that is not a spiritual practice? God in me, as me, is me. Then when you cook dinner, that's God cooking dinner. When you play music, it's God playing music. When you put the little cat chasey thing up there for Ray, it's God putting it. Like, it's all God. Everything we do becomes the potential for a prayer. The potential for, what did David say? When I asked him, do you have a cello? What was his response? Cello has me. What's the difference between saying a prayer and being a prayer? Because I said last week, I think it was last week, spell it, P-R-A-Y-E-R. Prayer. But is that not also prayer? The one who delivers the prayer. I will be the prayer. We don't say it that way, but ultimately, is that not the same thing? The moment that you say the prayer is saying you. So what does it do? Let's, wait. One thing I want to throw out there, remind us, because I saw her signing and it reminded me. Suppose, anybody in here know sign language? Okay, a couple of them. Of course you do. So suppose you took your first sign language class. You know the basics. You know, like, hello, how are you? You know about as much as Ray knows. Okay, so this is how much Japanese Ray knows. Konnichiwa. Sayonara. Jamata desu ne. Enpitu ga arimasu ka? So, konnichiwa, hello. Sayonara, goodbye. Jamata desu ne. See you later. Enpitu ga arimasu ka? Do you have a pencil? Go page o akete kudasai. Please open your book to page 5. That's what Ray knows. Oh yeah, thank you, Queenie. And domo arigato, right? Now, if someone who was fluent in Japanese or sign language stood before us and signed the secrets of life, everything we would ever want to know, and they start signing it, how much of it would we grasp? Someone comes in and they deliver all of the secrets of life in Chinese, Japanese, Hindi. How much of it do we grasp? We're only going to grasp to the degree that we are fluent to the language, correct? When we talk about the love languages, we are only going to be able to receive love and give love to the degree that we understand the language of love. We are only going to be able to give that which is of spirit and receive that which is of spirit to the degree that we understand the language of spirit. If we do not become fluent in this principle, in these laws, in this way of being, all that God is, the infinite intelligence that knows all, is everywhere, is right where you are. That if we right now opened our consciousness to the degree that we wanted to know what is mine to do right now to bring about world peace, the answer would be right there. One of the things that used to befuddle me way back when was one of my Kung Fu instructors said to me that it's apparently a Chinese aphorism that says, many people ask questions to which they already know the answers. Many of the questions we are asking ourselves, we already know the answers. So rather than asking the same questions, why me? Why him? Why her? Why this? Change the quality of the question, and then the answer reveals itself. So what does it do? Just want to share a couple of things with you real quick, because Tracy already told me it's my time. So I'm going to shut up soon, because we're not at home, and I can't do a 1-hour sermon like I did last Sunday. So, what do I want to mention? Real quick. Okay, here we go. This is a good one. So, in asking what does it do, the question then becomes, so how do I do this, right? And there's a passage in the Bible in Luke 19:38 through 40, where Jesus was asked. So the Pharisees asked Jesus to basically silence his disciples. You need to tell them fools to shut up. You need to tell them they carrying on just a bit too much. And Jesus' response basically was, blessed is the king who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. But some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, Teacher, rebuke your disciples. And Jesus says, I tell you, if they remain silent, the very stones will cry out. Meaning, if they do not praise, if they do not let praise move through them, then the stones will praise. So now, how do we translate that into what we do as New Thought? Where in our lives are we praising our good? Where are we? Because see, that whole thing, blessed is the king who comes in the name of the Lord. All of that stuff is you. Blessed are you, the king or the queen, the ruler of your life, the one who determines the direction of your consciousness. Blessed are you who is here in the name of that which is spirit, in the name of that which is the infinite I am. Blessed are you. Do you walk as though you know you're blessed? Do you fix food like someone who knows that they are blessed? Do you stand in line in the grocery store like someone who knows that they are blessed? Do you sit in your doctor's office or your dentist's office as someone who knows that they are blessed? Or is it the opposite? I sit in the doctor's office as someone who knows that they are worried showing up. I stand in line in the grocery store as someone who knows that this is what frustration looks like standing in line. Is she really going to pay with all those coupons? Really, really? I knew I should have gotten the other line. Oh, now it's too late. Is that what we do? Is that how we're showing up? Because if that's how we're showing up, then what are we doing with our consciousness? What are we now putting into the law? What seed? Because we could plant great food, seed into soil becomes plant. Or we can plant poison ivy into soil, which becomes poison ivy. We get to choose what we're going to put consciousness into law. So how do we, on this day, right here, right now, get to choose anew? Get to be anew. Get to develop and evolve into someone, something entirely new. You ever seen like Ellen or whatever when they do the drastic makeovers? And someone comes in and they're like hair's like, and they, and next thing you know, they're like, who is that? That's your husband. No. Like complete drastic, I mean like completely different. What if we are being invited to do a makeover of our consciousness right now? Into this new year. Because as I've told folks, referencing politics and stuff, is that this is an invitation for us to demonstrate what we know this teaching is. So rather than moan and be groan about what, this is the opportunity to demonstrate which lives matter. This is an opportunity to demonstrate me too and support. This is my opportunity to stand with. This is my opportunity, and this is my last thing. So who in here is on Facebook or some form of social media? Has anyone seen or heard about the recent video gone viral of the young gentlemen, young students, well, most young gentlemen, from Covington Catholic High School and the Native American elder that, okay. So I'm reading a lot of the comments and I understand the anger and the venom that, like, oh, if I was there, I'd have slapped that little boy in his head. I understand. Because trust and believe, Tracy and I have had conversations where I said, if I was there, I don't know. I would like to think that the left foot that is very prone to wanting to do that, I have these moments, and I'm like, look, no. So I like to pray and believe that I would be able to do exactly the same thing he did and play the drum. Just do what I'm there to do. But I'm reading the comments, And I ask myself as I'm reading, because what I notice, my triggers, I'm feeling angry. And I'm not even angry about the video right now. I'm angry because I'm reading the comments of other people who are angry, and I realize that their anger is now seeping into me. Okay, and in that moment, now there's nothing wrong with feeling anger. There's something entirely different about being angry. Feel it. Why do I feel anger? Disrespect, dishonor, just outright rude, dangerous, terroristic, intimidation. When have I felt this? Okay, identify, okay, and then do the work. Now, what is mine to do? This is showing up for me. Pray and meditate, pray and meditate. Now, when I get calm, what is mine to do? Write the Diocese of Kentucky and let them know what I think. Write every faculty member whose email I can get, the principal, the Pope. They're demonstrating what Catholicism looks like. Is this what you... I wrote the Diocese of Washington, D.C. I wrote Lester Holt. I wrote Anderson Cooper. I wrote Rachel Maddow. I wrote a whole bunch of folks from a place of calm, not a place of anger, from a place of calm. So when we ask, once again, what is this asking us to do? What is it asking us to be? What is it doing as us? You're the only one that can answer that question. Because you're the only one that knows what you are wrestling with. You're the only one that knows what corners in your consciousness you never go to and shine a light on. You are the only one who knows where the cobwebs are that you never dust out. You're the only one that knows where your fears... There's an old movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, or some craziness. Something. And it may not be that movie, but I think it is that movie. But there's a line in there that says, you cannot hide from your fears. They are a part of you, and they know where you are hiding. The things that we will not face are ours. And until we face them, until we call them forth, until we go and put the cast on the arm so the arm can heal, until we go there, it doesn't heal. It doesn't change. And until that changes, this whole thing that we're doing right now, ultimately, it's a great social moment, but that's all it is. So we determine, is this just a great social time for us to get together, to namaste, give hugs, listen to great music and fellowship, and then go eat? Or is this about doing serious spiritual work to change our lives, to know that once we walk out these doors, as I've said before, everywhere we walk, we vibrate the very pavement that we step on. Everything that we touch in the supermarket, we cause it to vibrate with the light and the love that we know is spirit. So that the next person, and we put it back, the next person that touches it, something is through them. Because if it works for a cold, and then they're sick, if it works that way for germs, why can't it work that way for love? Why can't it work that way for health and well-being? Why can't we become contagious with love, light, and the power of spirit? Let's pray. Once again, anchoring ourselves in the breath. Grounding and knowing that that which God is present in this moment. God in me, as me, is me, right here, right now. And what I know is true for me is true for everyone in this room. Everyone watching on Facebook or YouTube, now or later. God in me, as me, is me. And so knowing this truth, I speak what I know. That which God is, as absolute magnificence personified, as absolute health and well-being personified, as love made flesh, as infinite wisdom and knowledge, talent and ability, all that God is showing up right here, right now, in, through, and as me. As I avail myself, as I open my consciousness, as I open my heart, I allow that infinite vibration, that divine alignment to live and move and have its beingness right here, right now, in this body. Individualized as me, incarnate as me. And as I said, what is true for me is true for all. As the mind opens, as the heart avails itself, as alignment is made consciously, that which God is, that which Spirit is, that which is the divine itself, does what it does in, through, and as. Knowing that this is what it does, it lives. Knowing that this is what it does, it moves. Knowing that this is what it does, it has its beingness right here and right now. Knowing that this is what it does, I align my thoughts so that my thoughts are God's thoughts. I change my speaking so that my words are God's words. I align my feeling to know that this is what God feels. And I know that as I align thought, word, feeling, I walk the walk. That the deeds of heaven on earth show up in my hands, in my body, through my eyes, by my feet, by my shoulders. That I am the one who shows up as the light. And that which God is doing that in, through, and as me. That truth, true for all. There is not one man, woman, or child who is not holy, sacred, and divine. Light made flesh, love made flesh, joy made flesh. Availing ourselves to that truth. What I know in gratitude is that as the mind opens, as we open from the top, as we roll up our sleeves, as we do the work and plant in the rich divine soil of law, that which is already in the mind of God manifests. In the mind of God, it is already fully functioning, it is already fully formed. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to say these words. But the fact that I can say these words, to speak this truth, means that God, that which God is speaking this truth in, through, and as me. So I surrender and I allow in gratitude, knowing that it is done, knowing that it is so, knowing that principle, not precedent, principle is what this community is grounded on. Principle is what the members of this community live by. Principle is how we are demonstrating a world that works for the highest and best of all. And in gratitude, knowing that this is what is, I surrender it, I allow it to be, and together we say, and so it is. Amen.